Welcome to Chicago State of Mind, the show where we go beyond the headlines to explore the journeys, purpose, and personal stories of the people shaping Chicago and the culture. Today's guest is no stranger to the pages of Chicago News Weekly, Dr. Sakira Jackson. She has built a reputation as a leader, an advocate, a mentor, and a change maker dedicated to empowering others and creating meaningful transformation in the lives of the people she serves. Tonight, we're going to talk about leadership, transition, wisdom transfer, personal growth, and the journey beyond the public image. Dr. Jackson, welcome to Chicago State of Mind.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited to be in Chicago News Weekly, period.
Absolutely. You were just a cover not too long ago.
I know, it's so exciting. I don't know how this is happening, but I'm excited to be here anyway.
We were so excited to tell your story, but what was it like doing it?
It was one of those things that in the back of my mind, I had always thought this would be something that I would do.
Uh-huh.
And then when it happened, it felt like, wow, this is really actually very exciting. It was a different feeling from what I expected.
Okay.
Because I thought I knew what I feel. And then when I was going through the interview process, I thought, I'm excited by this.
Good. And how was the reception from people?
It was funny because so many people were like, it's about time.
I agree.
I was like, what do you guys mean? I never expect these things. I never expect anybody to give me any accolades or anything. It's just, I feel like this is my assignment. This is what God gave me to do. So I'm not ever really looking for people to say, oh, that was wonderful and great. Because at the end of the day, if God doesn't think it was great, then it really doesn't matter.
Amen. So with that being said, because we're going to get into your professional persona as Dr. Sakira Jackson, the business doctor. But I want to first take us back a little bit and tell our audience a little bit of your story. It's quite compelling.
Oh,
we all have long ones, but this is Chicago State of Mind, and I believe that part of the state of mind that we bring to this metropolis is formed in a way by our experiences before we got here.
Okay.
Some people are from here.
Okay.
But some of us came from other places, and we came for certain reasons. So when I say take us back, let's talk about the brothers and sisters and how many brothers and sisters you have.
Okay.
And then, how coming from a group that
massive family.
Yeah. And then coming here, why'd you come here? And then how has that informed your going forward?
So I'm going to answer the first part. I am one of 15. My dad had two families, and he married one and then married the other, but we were a family even before he married my bonus mom. Mm-hmm. And I was the child that was always wanting more than living in the projects. More. I just always knew. My mother was a voracious reader, and she had a rule that if you have a question, you should go to the dictionary. And if you can't answer the dictionary, go to the library.
Right.
Before you ask her. So for me, I always wanted to understand, and I always wanted more information and more knowledge. And that's what informed my life. So when I was a very young woman, I decided I was going to go to college. And I think I even said it in the article, I forged my mom's name on the documents to go.
Well, these are things that happen from time to time.
But it was what it needed to happen. So I was the first of 15 to graduate from college because of my drive.
It's huge.
You just make a decision and then you just start doing what it takes. And so I think that kind of is what helped me as I started to create businesses and become a management consultant and later become a psychologist and later start really coaching and helping others, is because I made a decision a long time ago that I was really smart, and it's not a vanity thing, I was just really smart. But what God gave me was this ability to look at people and hear what He wanted them to know. And so I would ask questions to help them, guide them, and it just started to become what I do. And I didn't even really know that's what was happening. So,
isn't that, that's the way that it works.
yes.
And I've said this before, life is a series of transitions, right?
Yes.
So it's a journey. And so learning, and first getting the understanding that you're on a journey. Because when we're young, we think that by the time we are 22, if we go to college, we think and thought that meant once you graduate college, you automatically are going to know what it is that you want to do, right? What you're going to be when you grow up. I'm still
figuring that out.
Yeah, when I grow up. Well, when I grow up, right? But I mean, I thought it was going to be, I went to college with the full intention of being the next Jane Kennedy.
Wow.
And I wanted to be the sportscaster and the color announcer on NFL Sunday. I fully expected that was what I was going to do with my life. Didn't turn out that way, right? But that's okay. I mean, a lot of things, all of them pointed in this direction and just kept going and kept going and kept going. But to come to this point now, with a lot of that with your help, and we're going to get into that, a lot of it is led to here, all of it led to here, where we're doing this podcast, we're creating this content, I'm having the time of my life, right?
And that's the cool part too.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't even see that coming, right? I didn't know that our world of media, of legacy media, was going to basically hit the skids in many ways.
Yeah.
And that there was going to be this need to be creating content and information in a completely different ways. But we always had the drive to be able to give people what they wanted to hear or read or see or experience in the ways that they wanted to. Now we're doing this as well as those other things, right? But you have been a big part of that for us, for Chicago News Weekly, and for me prior to Chicago News Weekly. So we started working together when I was the publisher at the Chicago Defender.
For sure.
And at that point in time, I met you as the CEO coach.
Yep.
And I think we went into the CEO mindset class. I think that's
we
where
were
we were.
The intentional CEO mastermind.
Right, mastermind class. Okay, so let's fast forward to there, because we'll come back to some personal stuff later on. But I really want to get to, so people understand what it is that you do and why they need to know you, right? So we tried to do that with Chicago News Weekly, but now here we are, and we're really going to let people know what you do, because it's super important, especially now.
Well, it's funny. When I started doing management consulting, it is really what drove me to become a business psychologist. I was doing management consulting, and every client that I would help would not want to work with the rest of the managers. They would only want to work with me. But I didn't feel like I had the skill set that I needed to help them. So I had to go back to school. one of my mentors says that if you don't feel like you have something to say, you need to go get some more information and some more education.
Correct.
And so that's what I did. And I went back and I became a business psychologist. And after I did that, I started working with a peer mentoring company called This. And I was doing their mentoring program for CEOs, but they weren't offering what I call the triple helix. They weren't offering the behavioral side, plus the biblical side, plus the business side.
Okay.
They were only offering the business side. And so the problem was that CEOs as business owners have this whole piece of their life that it wasn't touching.
Right.
So if you are trying to run a business, but your soul is not in the business, or your family is not in the business, or your life in general is not in the business, it makes it hard for you to grow your business.
For sure.
And so that's why I created the masterminds. And then as I helped people like you and I when we worked together, what I found was that people needed not just system structures and strategies, the soul part of it, the assignment part of it. What am I here for? What is my purpose? Like what you're saying now, you've done so many different things over the years, but this is feeding your soul.
Right.
And this is also allowing you to do what God has for you to do, which is serve other people.
Right.
And that's what was missing in the business aspect of masterminds. And
Agreed.
that's why I had to continue to expand and help people learn how they own their assignment and help them understand and analyze what's going on in my life.
Right.
You know, and that's how we got to where we are today.
Okay. So would you say that when you're meeting, especially now, right? Because the way that the world is working right now and what's happening with people exiting either by choice or by force
Yes.
out into the world, and a lot of people taking on for the first time entrepreneurship, right? So that's a wave. I'm all for it, 100%, right? But you're the business doctor. You're somebody that they really need to get with. So what symptoms do leaders, or do they usually bring to you? And what do people often misdiagnose when they feel stuck or overwhelmed with this taking on the enormity of becoming a CEO or a business owner or a president? Where are they? What are they stuck?
What are we seeing? There's a couple of ways to look at it.
Right.
So when you look at it from the corporate side, because we help the corporations, and what we call it is wisdom transfer and leadership legacy. Because when you look at companies, they may have inconsistent revenue. They may have inconsistent sales. They may have a marketing program that's out of alignment. They may have team issues. That's on the corporate side. But it's usually because people are starting to transition out of the company.
Yeah.
And the wisdom, meaning the knowledge that they had, the relationships that they had, the conflict resolution that they had, all of those pieces leave with them.
They leave with them. Yeah.
And that transfer doesn't happen. Even though the people who are remaining have some skill sets, they don't have those years, those 10, 20, 30 years of experience of how to build a strong relationship with a client over the years, how to do conflict resolution, how to provide the customer service from year 1 to year 10. And so that transfer of what they've done leaves when the people leave. And so a lot of corporations need to start to understand that a lot of what's happening in your company is not necessarily because you have the wrong people.
Right.
It's because you don't have a system and a structure for the wisdom transfer.
Okay.
And for the leadership legacy that needs to stay behind when those people leave. Now,
We've always known that, right?
we've always known
We've been
that
discussing that for a decade.
a long time.
now.
But the companies are having a difficulty, and unfortunately a lot of it is because the people that are leading the training departments, the HR departments, the sales departments, the operational departments, they don't have that wisdom, because a lot of the people who have the experience are being transitioned out. And then when we think about the people who are being transitioned out, their knowledge, a lot of times what they think of it as is common sense. So I've been in the company for 25 years. There's things I just know because I've been there 25 years.
So if you have a client at that time, I mean, that comes to you, and this is something that you're able to diagnose as the problem, what's the solution for that?
To develop what they know and to then deploy what they know. People's job is a transition, whether it's a career transition, whether it's retirement, whether it's you just want to start a new business, is to first identify what that knowledge is that you have, right? And then develop it into a codified kind of program, a delivery, whether that's a book, it might be a video series, it might be a program, it might be a coaching program, it might be a speaking program. We codify those. We figure out what is it you know that they don't know. And so what I say is we design it, then we develop it, and then we deploy it.
Right.
So even when if you're saying I want to open a business, a lot of times what happens with business owners is they have technical knowledge, but they don't have business knowledge. They don't have systems, they don't have structure, they don't know marketing and sales and what it takes. So transitioning out of a company into entrepreneurship also requires that you understand those knowledge, skills, and abilities.
Yeah, you gotta fix your KSAs.
Right.
For sure.
And that's where the program Act Like a Leader comes in, because those are what's called the assets, those are what's called the currencies, and those are what is called the transformations that individuals need to go in and be a business owner. You might already be a business owner, but you're not acting like a leader.
Right. I see that a lot, and no harm intended at all, but I see that in the current new generation of business owners, right? And people who run businesses and people who are consultants or this, that, and the other. And there is that's missing, especially with the younger ones. They haven't come into the fullness of their leadership yet.
But that again is that technical knowledge part.
They have the technical
That's what I'm saying.
knowledge.
They have the technical side,
right,
but they don't have what we would call the CEO mindset,
right,
which is the
that's
sales and marketing.
Right.
Those things that you have to have. It's like the meat and potatoes. I can't just have dessert.
Right.
I've got to have the meat and the potatoes, or otherwise the meal's not finished.
And part of that is the CEO view from the balcony.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So that is something that they haven't learned yet. And what I find is there is an impatience sometimes.
You want it now.
I see. Because I'm out all over the place. I see some impatience in that. I see that because so many people have felt like they had to jump out here and have had to jump out here and start their own thing.
Yes.
I'm 100% behind that always, and rooting for people to always do that. But understanding that there is this balcony view, there is this CEO mindset, there is the CEO responsibilities. And it's more than just saying, I have a business, right? It's understanding how everything has to fit together and how everything has to function. And your job is to see it from the top of the room.
That's
where
that
you're looking down,
strategic look
because
that they
everybody else is on the dance floor.
Yes.
But the CEO has to be on the balcony, and I feel like that's something that a program like yours in the CEO mindset, the intentional CEO, and are so important, because these are not things a lot of people have not had the luxury. These young people, most of them, have not had the luxury of going through an MBA course, nor do people have the money.
Well, I think
to be
that's
able
the
to do
problem
that.
too for
so
them.
They don't, right. So that kind of thinking and training comes oftentimes through finishing an MBA, completing an MBA. But if you don't have one, you still need to have those skills. So you still have to have them. And if you don't, eventually you're going to run into the problems. So programs like yours are so important. And the service that you provide for business owners, entrepreneurs, all the way up to corporate CEOs is so important. And I just wanted to get that out there. There's my commercial for you. I'm a true believer. I know it to be true, right?
I wanna add on to what you said, because we've moved beyond the intentional CEO to the House of Solomon. And there's 3 levels of the House of Solomon, because depending on where you are as a business owner, you're gonna be either in the circle, the council, or the society. The Solomon circle is for the people who, as you say, they jumped out there. When we had COVID, when so many people just jumped out there and they started business, and it's not to take anything away from them.
Absolutely not.
They absolutely should have. But the structure, the systems, and the strategies that they needed, and the mindset pieces are still missing. When you think about it, even in Illinois, there are 99% of all the companies that are started here are 1 or 2 persons companies. And they never advance past that because they don't have the scalability.
Right.
And the scalability comes when you get into the second level, which is the council, because then we work on building scale.
Right.
And we help you figure that out. It's very much like the old intentional CEO, where you're coming together with other CEOs and we're helping you look at your company and what you want to do, and the strategy and the structure and the decision making. Because the biggest challenge for people as a business owner is making decisions in silos. When you're in your little ivory tower thinking this is a great idea, but you don't know whether it's actually considered valuable to your clients.
Right.
So getting through that, and then the society
You don't have
is
a power
for
opinion matrix. You don't have any of this stuff.
Nothing.
Right, to know
whether that makes sense.
Who's on your who's a supporter, who's a high supporter, who's a mid-level supporter.
You
who's
have no
not so
idea, and you're just
supportive,
making
not so-
decisions.
You know, there's a whole thing to it. So, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, if you're in that position and you don't have these skills, you need to go back and get them.
Absolutely.
So there are ways to go back and get them, and you don't have to necessarily take the time and the money that you don't have the time, and the money that you may or may not have, but you don't have the time to go enter right now into a full-on MBA program. But you still have to get those skills. You're still a business owner, and your growth and scalability depends on you getting these skills, right? So that's where
the
we Solomon Council. Is this named for King Solomon?
It is.
His wisdom? Okay.
It is.
Bravo.
It's
Bravo.
Thank you. It's based because when you think about it from his perspective, when in the latter part of his life, he realized what he had not done. And what I'm hoping to do in talking to people and helping them understand why I created the House of Solomon is because if you're in the entry part, you may be where he first started getting his wisdom. If you're in the council, you may be in the mid part where you're making the wrong decisions like he did. And if you're in the society, you're in ecclesiastics, and now you're realizing, oh, all these ways are folly, and I need to use actual principles to get my business to a scalable place. Because at the end of the day, the bottom line is you are supposed to leave a legacy for your children's children. So why are you building a company if it's not legacy building?
Correct. Well, now you know how I feel about that. But finding yourself in the society is a rude awakening.
Finding out that you're there. And there's so many people that don't know that they're there.
But don't stop when you get there. Once you get to the society, once you get to the knowledge that
you're at the society level.
Right. Don't stop. Keep going and work with a professional who can help you get and make it through that and get yourself. I want to ask you about a concept because I believe they go together, but I'm not sure because I don't know it yet. We're going to learn together. Give me what is MeshMind and how does that work with what we were just talking about?
MeshMind was something that came out for my own self. Actually.
It's your own trademark.
It's my own trademark,
Okay.
and it's MeshMind. It is based on high-capacity, multi-thread thinkers. Now, when you think about the majority of people, they're linear thinkers. And the society that we have is built on linear thinking, meaning that everything goes A to B to C. And that's really not how a lot of people think. It's a S-curve. I actually think of it as a mesh because a lot of your thoughts may be connected left to right, right to left, up to down.
Right.
And as a business owner who's high capacity and multi-thread, sometimes what happens is you start one, and then you go over here and you start another one, and you go over there and you start another one. Now you come back, but because you didn't have a strong container, you lose focus and momentum.
Right.
And that was what started me on the MeshMind process because I'm a multi-thread thinker. And what I found out was there are tools, but most of the tools are built for linear thinkers. In current society, we call it neurodiversity.
I was going to say, is that neurodivergence?
Yes.
Because it's very
it's a different way
yeah,
of
but
thinking.
it's very commonly acknowledged now.
But what's the funny part about that? So many people, especially those who are neurodivergent, who have been diagnosed as ADD or ADHD, it has a negative connotation.
Right.
And MeshMind thinkers is not necessarily negative thinking. It's that we have a current structure that does not support how you think. And so if you can find a methodology that allows you to find ways to close loops. And when I say close the loop, you started a process, you started a new idea, and then you went over here. But if you have a container that allows you to hold that thought while you go over here, and then you can come back and close that loop, that helps people achieve more. And so if I'm a business owner and I have to do sales and marketing and production and operations and finance and people and hiring, and I'm a multi-thread thinker, some of those tasks that need to get done don't get done because the tools that they give you are set up for linear thinkers, meaning you're going step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
And that's not how multi-thread thinkers think.
Right.
So I've created the MeshMind tool, and I'm releasing the MeshMind app specifically for people who are high capacity, multi-thread thinkers, so that you have a way to close the loop and keep going. And the best part about that is become a finisher, not a starter.
Yes. So, are you that high capacity multi?
I am absolutely.
Thinker? Okay, because I definitely am. And I just found that out. Literally in this program that I'm in. And we're there, and we got an exercise to do, or we got a tool for our toolkit. And when the tool was presented to my cohort, I'm in a year-long program called MTC. And when this particular tool was introduced, it was introduced that everybody, this one is really unpopular and people don't really like it, and when they get it, it's introduced, and don't feel bad if it doesn't really rock with you, right? So we're at this cohort a week long, we do it by weeks. And so we've been getting tools and tools and tools. So now
You're nervous about what is this
one
gonna
is
be?
coming, right? Oh geez, right? So they give it to us, and I'm thinking, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen, right? But then I realized that it is a series of steps, right? This one, you got your resources, you got your activities, outputs, outcomes, impact. right? And that's how you work through something. You consider these things. And we had time to work on this. I looked at it and was looking at that and realized that if I started here with impact, what is it that I want this to do? Right? This what we're sitting in right now is my challenge.
That's right.
This is what we're building. This is who we are. This is real-time challenge, right? Scale the CNW network that we're sitting on right now, and make it the hottest thing since sliced bread. So that's the impact, right? People all over the country are gonna, if they want to talk about Chicago, they want to hear about what's going on in Chicago and from real Chicago people, from real, real news, real information. This is where you go to get it. I don't care where you are, get it from the horse's mouth, right?
Yeah.
So then you go back, now I'm going backwards. Okay, well, what are the outcomes that we have to have? What are the outputs? What are my outputs? What are the activities that I need to do in order to get and what are the resources? I started with resources at the end, totally backwards. Neither here nor there. The end comes, we all get back together again. And they said, how many of you found that to be really helpful? Me and 2 other people. Only 2 out of 26, right? And so they then explain, the first person stands up and goes, well, I'm neurodivergent, and so this worked really well for me. And I was thinking, Then the next person stands up and she goes, well, I also am highly neurodivergent, and this, for me. And then and I said, I don't know that I'm neurodivergent, but this worked really well for me. And I did it backwards. And both of them said, we did too, I did too. And I said, we all did it backwards. And we're the only, we started at the end and worked back this way. But that was what worked for us. But that kind of a tool even just tells you, even though it's linear this way, we flipped it around and went back this way. And I was just like, am I neurodivergent? So as I'm asking, like I mentioned this to my daughter and she goes, duh. And I went, duh?
Like you didn't even know?
That I'm probably very ADHD, right? And always have been. And I remember, Cheryl, sit down. Cheryl, the comments on the report card, I have a lot of my report cards from elementary school, and they all said, she's a wonderful student, very smart, very intelligent, a joy. That if we could just get her to, and not talk so much, right? That has been the thing forever. And having to focus on completing the task.
Yeah, really has to hyper focus. That's one of the challenges for ADHD is they will either hyper focus and just like close out everything, or
for sure, I have to
or they can't focus because it's easily distracted.
Right.
And that's why I said the MeshMind is for high capacity, multi-thread thinkers, because you have the capacity to think about a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And make the connection between those divergent things and then go from back to front. That's difficult for linear thinkers because they need it to make sense from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Mm-hmm. And that's what is so important for entrepreneurs, because studies show that a large number of entrepreneurs are ADD and ADHD. They have done studies now and show that. But what they're now going back and doing is saying, perhaps we're now also identifying early stage entrepreneurs in children because of the ADD and ADHD. So neurodivergency is a new focus, but for me, I call it MeshMind, because if you imagine a mesh with all the different nodes, it's easy to start to think how you can move from one node to the next node and back, and they all connect. Yeah. And that's how your thoughts work as a MeshMind high capacity thinker. MeshMind. And so, yeah, that's my trademark.
Okay, I love it. I love it, and I find it to all ring true. So from one business owner, mesh-minded CEO, business owner to another, highly recommend that you seek out the consulting of Dr. Sakira Jackson. We're going to get to at the end of how they can reach you.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of on this, is there anything else that we wanted to talk about? We've already talked about.
Own your life.
Huh?
Own your life. I think it's really important.
Yeah, because we're going to
about the corporate.
We're going to.
I want to talk about
we're going. Yeah, we're going there right now. Going there right now. I was going to say before we go to owning your life, right? So I don't know. What do you want to say about that, right? Because you are someone with such an amazing story that people we can't even begin to get into it at all because it's so big and so much. Your resilience has been unbelievable and incredible. I have watched you personally for 10 years now, 11 years now, and even how you've just navigated this part of it. But at the same time, that's what the people over there see. But then we also had the ability and the blessing of becoming very good friends.
Yes.
Which only lets me know all the other things that you do, right? That is a constant with me, and what I have found out about those women in my very small circle are all have that same quality. We have the capacity to do a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to talk a little bit, and you're no different. You might be at the front of the class. So I want you to talk about what you mean when you say own your life. What does this mean? What are we talking about here?
Well, I want to add one caveat from my dad, because I think he's the reason why I am the way I am. As a person who saw my dad start a business as the first African American to own a spin wash, and that was my very first job, and I was 12, and I was his bookkeeper.
Where were you?
Springfield,
Illinois.
And my dad had this saying. He said, "There are only things you haven't done, not things you cannot do." So for me, there was never this like, oh, I can't do that. It was just I need to go read and study and figure it out, and then I could do it. As I start to move into this 60, 70-year-old space, I started to see that retirement is just not something I'm gonna ever do.
Right.
It's just not. And working with people who are transitioning in their 40s, their 30s, their 50s, their 60s, what I started to see is that people don't own their life. And what I mean by that is we've been taught to get a job and work 20 or 30 years and then maybe retire. But owning your life looks like figuring out what your assignment is, figuring out what your wisdom is, and figuring out what you want for your life. And then identifying, how do I get there? That may mean I have a job, but what I own, I don't sell my time for money. Because money and time are not equal. Right. And when we start to understand that money and time, although people always say, time is money,
money is a resource.
Money is a resource that you use to buy back your time.
I know that's right.
And so if I'm owning my life, I'm looking for as many opportunities as I can to buy back my time.
Because that's all you get, right?
Right? And so when I say own your life, understanding that when we're put here and we have an assignment, if we're going to own that assignment and we're going to sit in that assignment and become the person that God has intended us to be, we have to own that. which means we have to have a purpose and we have to understand, how do I buy back my time? The Bible tells you to buy back your time because the days are evil. So it's not like I'm making this up. I want people to understand you can buy your time back by saying, okay, so yes, I'm going to keep this job because it funds X, Y, and Z, but what is it that I have?
Exactly.
What is my wisdom that other people can get from me?
Which brings you joy.
What?
People adding joy back into their life is like, I feel like that's.
But people think that joy is something you can't create. Because there's what's happening, which makes you happy, and there's joy that comes from the inside because of what you're doing or who you're being.
It's an activity.
Right. So the happening, which is an external locus of control, versus the joy, which is an internal locus of control, is understanding, how do I want to own my life? How do I want to own what I have and what I share with the world and how I serve the world? How do I do that? And so the Own Your Life and Own Your Assignment, that part of our program helps people for that transition. Am I ready to own my business? Or am I ready to retire? Or am I ready to create a new career? Where is that?
Right.
And what does that look like? Because in this day and age, people don't go sit in the rocking chair and chill when they retire. And a lot of companies are pushing people out of companies and then they feel lost.
We don't even have rocking chairs anymore. People just have swivel chairs.
I have rocking chairs. I got three outside.
This one knocks a little bit and swivels.
I sit in mine. I was sitting in mine today and I posted to TikTok sitting in my rocking chair today.
I saw you. Oh, I didn't see it. I saw your Instagram today. Okay. All right. So here's what we're going to do because we're going to be wrapping up in just a minute.
Okay.
We could go on for days.
You know this.
And have. So, couple things. This is a lightning round.
Okay.
Ready? So, what brings you peace? Oh, wait. Let me speak. Sakira is also a wife and a mother. And a grandmother, and now a great-grandmother.
I got 29 grandchildren, 8 children, and 3 great-grandbabies.
On top of everything.
On top of everything.
How about that?
I
Okay,
love that.
I felt that was important to lay that groundwork, right?
Yes.
Because we're gonna do that. What brings you peace?
What brings me peace? The most
I know the
peaceful
answer.
thing
It's Cliff Notes version.
is probably being in my garden.
I knew it.
Watching things grow, planting things, and then just sitting and listening to God about what He wants me to do. Just my garden gives me the opportunity to be amazed at God's ability to create. I mean, I'm like, I literally sat there today and looked at these alliums, these purple alliums that start they're the size of a little pea, and the flowers are like the size of a grapefruit, and they're purple, and they cover with seeds, and it's just watching all this growth. It's peaceful, it's joyful, it's fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. And you also love the beach. Okay.
Oh my
next.
God!
What habits keep you grounded?
Oh wow, grounding.
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 Do you take your shoes off?
Take my shoes off and walk all day.
Get in the touch grass.
Touch the grass.
I always laugh when people say that, and I'm like, you have no idea how right that is. But go ahead, you touch grass.
Touch grass.
Okay.
I meditate. I pray literally every single day.
Yes.
That's my first thing. And just recently, I started praying standing up with my arms out like this, facing south. And there is like the most amazing feeling to just hear God, being still, just saying to myself, be still, because that's a hard thing.
It's very hard.
Shut up and be quiet in your head.
Very hard.
And just saying to myself,
be
be still.
We know it's very hard.
It's very hard.
But he knows it's very hard, so he understands.
I'll hear him say something like, I hear you, daughter.
He made
And
you
I'll
like
just
this.
say, be still, be still. And I know he's like, okay, I know this is hard for you. So that's a new thing for me. Cooking. I absolutely love to cook. And being on the beach and reading great books and listening to great music, helping people. Oh my God. I think I'm probably going to circle back and say, when I'm able to sit across from a person and have them have a hello moment, there's nothing like helping a person go, oh, I didn't even see that. That is just, I don't even have
God
words.
bless you.
It makes me want to cry.
It does make you cry sometimes because I give you a lot of those where I have hello moments and then I'll call you and go, oh my goodness, what I just figured out or I just understood.
Yeah, it's an amazing feeling, and I don't know why he chose me, but I'm thankful that I get to do it.
Okay, and I want to end this with one thing. This is the brain tester. The name of our show is Chicago State of Mind. You came to Chicago from Springfield.
I did.
So what do you think of when you hear somebody say, it's a Chicago state of mind?
What do I think of when I hear someone say a Chicago state of mind? Resilience. I think Chicago has one of the worst reputations outside of Chicago, and it's surprising to people when they get here, both in the community, the beauty, the wind, the beaches, the food, the people. I think for me, and I've always known, I kid you not, when I was 5, I told Mom I was leaving Springfield. So this was never not a thing for me. That for people, Chicago state of mind is this feeling that no matter what has happened to me, I will get through it and I will still be one of the most amazing people that you have ever met. And I think that's how people are in Chicago. I've met so many amazing, talented, resilient people here. So that's the Chicago state of mind, is a resilience, the ability to bounce back from hardship, like the wind.
The wind. Wow, that was a lot. That was a lot. That was spot on. That makes you definitely understand why it is that we have to do what we're doing. Why Chicago News Weekly and why CNW Network has to work. That is our driving mechanism, which is to be able to present Chicago
Such a special
to the
place.
world in the words of, through the art of, through the writing of, and through the lens of Chicagoans.
Yeah.
Chicagoans who are here. These are our stories to tell. And these are our narratives to write and to make and to create and to capture, so that we don't continue to carry the stigma and the negative narrative that it seems like the country wants to put on us, because that's not our day-to-day life.
It's not.
And so that is why we're doing what we're doing. Dr. Jackson, I can't thank you enough for joining us today on Chicago State of Mind, for sharing your wisdom, for sharing your journey, and for sharing your heart with us. I'm so grateful. And I want you to come back and see us again. We will have you back because we have so much more to talk about, that I think is really, really going to be interesting for our audience. So I want you to tell everybody before I sign off how they can reach you.
They can go to drsakira.com, that's DRSAKIRA.com, or find me on LinkedIn and just send me a message, put in the word wisdom, and I'll know that you felt me here.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Chicago State of Mind. Chicago State of Mind is a podcast of Chicago News Weekly and the CNW studio. You can find more episodes of Chicago State of Mind on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. And you can also find us read our articles and find our latest issues at www.cnwmedia.com. This production is made possible by Cave Room Entertainment, and we will see you on the next episode of Chicago Stay in Mind. Be well.